Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, cats and dogs, rodents and other small insects, welcome to the ESN podcast. You good? Let me say it with more head.
I'm just surprised that I actually agreed with John Barnes. I was wondering who stole John Barnes, boy.
He had the spirit of the ancestors in him.
Trust me.
Fight!
There are some things that were invented in this country that did have an incredible influence. Say, for example, like the Industrial Revolution that changed the way that we worked.
Furnished by what? What was it furnished by? Slavery and getting products from all around the world. How do we get those products to furnish the Industrial Revolution? Is that taught?
Well done.
Well, it's part of it, and certainly when I was taught, that was part of it, and it's.
Oh, you were talking about the 18 inches of under the hull for where these black slaves were taken to the Caribbean to get the sugar to come back to furnish the Industrial Revolution. You were taught about that, about the slave ships and the Middle Passage.
Well,
I wasn't, and I went to school in England.
Outstanding.
Have we talking about Winston Churchill's wanting to have the slogan of Tory, keep England white? That's what he wanted, keep England white. Winston Churchill wanted that slogan, but the Tory party said no. Are we talking about that?
Impressive.
So I say Winston Churchill did a great thing, he was a great man in wartime. But we're always talking about how great we are. So in trying to redress the balance, we'll say, hang on a second, yes, Britain is great, a little country doing what it did, but how did it did what it did?
Excellent.
But the thing is, though, you see, I'm sorry, but I don't think we are the same as them.
Of course you don't. Why do you think England is the most hated country in Europe? Why do you think everybody wants England?
It isn't the most hated country in Europe.
It isn't? It isn't?
I do think that having pride in your nation and whether you feel superior to others is a very moot point, because isn't it important to feel pride in your nation?
Absolutely. Feel pride in your nation, but racially abuse the black ones who are in your nation when they're not successful. What about pride in a nation? For Sacco, who is a 19-year-old boy who took a penalty, why not have pride in that instead of racially abusing him? Or
I agree with you on that. I don't want to see him racially abused. I think his performance was incredible.
Pride in the nation comes across when you have the transactional benefit of black people being successful. Linford Christie, Frank Bruno, when they're actually doing things, we love them. But of course, we have no use of them when they're finished, do we?
Final round.
Just finally, though, I mean, do you not think that Britain should be proud of its history when we were the only country in the world to ban slavery at the time?
And why did they ban slavery?
Finish him.
They transported more slaves than anybody else. When it became financially viable, not viable anymore, and they wanted to stop it for many different reasons. So don't pat yourselves on the back about banning slavery.
Well, I wasn't here then, so...
I'll sit down and tell you about why they banned slavery, which had nothing to do with feeling they didn't feel black people were ever equal. Wilberforce, none of them. So as much as they wanted to ban slavery, that was for economic reasons. This is what I'm talking about. The perception you have based on what you've been taught then gives you that feeling of, we banned slavery. Never mind, we are the ones who transported more slaves than anybody else. And we wanted to stop people.
But the thing is, though, that you weren't around at the time, and neither was I. My family weren't even in this country. And you're asking me to feel guilt for what people did in the past? I want to hear about it.
I'm not asking you to feel guilt. I'm asking you to understand why you feel superior, because you just made a comment, we banned slavery, so therefore we're better than everybody else. And that's not true.
I don't feel superior.
Like so why throughout the line we banned slavery? And nobody else did. We're the first to do it.
Fatality.
Well, yeah. Look, it's a long conversation, and I guess, much as I would like to stay and discuss it some more. John, listen, you've opened our minds to all sorts of things, and indeed the phone lines.
Flawless victory.
But there's me and Griff were talking about this actually before. There's times when John Barnes says things that is quite fine. It's just the way he says it and the time that they roll him out. Usually, what he says is he will have 50% right and 50% nonsense.
Yeah.
So and the bit that's right is you still have black people upset with even the bit where that makes sense. He was right about that bit, but with all the other nonsense he says, they blanket the whole thing as nonsense. That's what he usually does. But in this instance, I couldn't. Even the bits where it's like, oh, he's gonna mess up here. Man came with bars.
No, he was just bash. He had the guy in the corner. He was just battering him. He was frustrated with
I felt like he talked to Chip.
No, I think he was frustrated.
Man didn't run out.
I think he was frustrated with this situation, and maybe he himself saw what happened. You know, he's had it in the past, and maybe he felt for these boys.
Maybe he was triggered.
He was triggered.
I've experienced that myself.
But you know what? Going on what we were saying about
Hashtag ESN Pod.